Welcome, Minister, to the House, and I hope you have a very successful week. COVID might be the reason that we want to get this legislation across the line before the summer, but it has been a while in the making, and it's been examined by the Company Law Review Group, the CLRG, and that has involved analysis by practitioners, businesses, unions and academics, and previous to that it went out on public consultation. The legislation fills a gap in our examinership laws, tailored to the needs of small and micro businesses, enabling those that are viable but vulnerable to restructure their debts and hopefully keep trading. And there is no better time to do that. So through a mix of grants and loans and tax warehousing and waivers, the government has supported businesses as much as possible through the COVID crisis. Government has been responsive to our calls when we've identified gaps in supports, whether that be for self-employed or small business supports or CRIS. But there's been many support that has come online over the last year. But despite those supports, some companies will still find themselves struggling. Of the businesses that commenced an insolvency process last year, only 5% went through for examinership. Under the proposed new mechanism, small firms facing insolvency will be able to cut debt with support from a majority of creditors without the costs of without the high costs, and will be able to do it in a shorter period. The amendment today represents a commitment made by government to look beyond practical supports and review the Companies Act, the regulatory framework to simplify and improve our examinership laws specifically for the small business sector, to try to ensure that those who can survive will, not just through the pandemic, but beyond. There are two key areas to this, to deliver this new corporate framework, and they are cost and time. The international framework for examinership is overseen in the courts, which is expensive and prohibitive for small, struggling companies. It's not realistic for a small company to engage in this way. So we have to address those barriers so they can access protection and support and retain the jobs that we desperately need. This bill would oversee a process that reduces the involvement of the courts as much as possible and tries to speed up the rescue process. The aim is to reduce the time frame from 150 to 70 days, although there is flexibility to accommodate the courts. The cost reduction could lower from 80 to 100,000 to 20 to 50,000. The Small Company Administrative Rescue Process, SCARP, is initiated, really importantly, by the directors of the small and micro business and can commence and proceed without significant involvement of the courts. It's commenced by resolution of the directors rather than application to the court, and it's overseen by a process advisor. And while taking into account the vulnerability of the business in receivership, it must also be fair to the creditors, who, as my colleague Senator Mullen said, are often small businesses themselves. Creditors will be able to vote in favour of the proposal as long as no creditor raises an objection to the plan within 21 days, which follows the vote. I think what's really important about this is small companies have to be competitive and agile in how they're able to react to the reality of business, and this is a framework that complements that. Ultimately, the process has to be successful for creditors than if the business is liquidated, or it won't work. In relation to the virtual AGMs, I might just ask for clarification on that. Is it just for companies going through this process, or is it in general? Because I think that actually for small companies in particular who need to be productive, and it has been recognised that that is an area that we need to work on, virtual AGMs can facilitate a more efficient way of working. So that is something that I think that we should look at if it's not included in this. SMEs are often referred to as the backbone of the Irish economy, so it's only right that they have equitable access to rescue processes. Our small business sector represents our neighbours, our partners, our brothers and sisters, the parents of our children's friends, in my case, 800,000 employees are in the sector, and 78% of their companies operate in areas that are really especially hit by the pandemic, like leisure, tourism, hospitality. So let's get through this pandemic and leave our company law in a better place than we found it. Thank you.